Senator Tillis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you both for being here. Congratulations to the family. I'm sure that you're proud, and to the Shelton family, your heart rate will reduce about 10 or 20 beats a minute in about 30 minutes. Look, I want to go back. I hadn't planned on going through this. I watched most of the hearing in my office before I came down here. And I've heard a lot of people quoting your writing, so I want to lay something out and then get you to respond to it. I want to make sure that people understand the difference. They're using quotes that you wrote that were actually quotations from other writings. For example, I think in one article that I believe was used by Senator Tester and referenced by others, public law says Full Employment and Balanced Growth Act of 1978. In that public law, it says the attainment of these objectives should be facilitated by setting explicit short-term, medium-term economic goals and improved coordination among the President, the Congress, and the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve. That's what you were quoting, right?
Exactly, Senator.
And that was the basis for them thinking that you were asserting, the other Judy Shelton was asserting something else in your words, but in fact, those weren't your words, right?
I was quoting.
And in fact, they're the words of Congress. I also want to go back, when we talk about independent, I find it remarkable actually on this committee, we're talking about, Chairman Powell was here yesterday, and we're talking about undue political influence on the Fed. That's what we do every day when we bring the Fed up before this committee. We're trying to assert our political influence. And I don't think the president is any more or less entitled to do that. And I don't think any other president has failed to do it, whether they do it publicly or privately. You made a point about, at least in this case, it's transparent. That's one thing you can say about the president and his communication style. But I think we're fooling ourselves if we think any president has not tried to have a discussion about their view of where you need to go. But can y'all cite either example? Mr. Waller, I'm going to give you a chance to talk because you've been given a good pass, and then maybe with Dr. Shelton. But Dr. Waller, give me an example where you've seen political pressure ultimately drive a political decision on the part of the Fed.
Well, there's been a long history of what used to be called bashing and coercion from the administration on the Fed. So this has a long history. The question is,
but I mean, but what I'm saying, in an example where that political pressure, because we're all talking about this fear, uncertainty, and doubt of the Fed being politicized. I'm just trying to give an example where that political pressure actually drove the Fed to make a decision that wasn't founded in the dual mandate.
So the classic example in monetary history is Richard Nixon and Arthur Burns. Nixon put a tremendous amount of pressure on Burns to keep interest rates low to help with his reelection, which apparently Burns followed through with. That's the best known example I have.
I'll say that sometimes I see maybe political influence work in reverse. I'm sure both of you are aware of former Governor Dudley's comments about making things go south so President Trump can't get reelected. Y'all think that's inappropriate? I hope so.
I thought it was totally inappropriate, speaking for the Fed.
Dr. Shelton?
Most certainly.
All right. Now I want to talk about, we also talk about independence. I agree with what everybody said on both sides of the aisles about Fed independence. From undue political pressure. What I got a real problem with, and a couple of examples right now, is the Fed asserting its independence from oversight or asserting its independence from the Administrative Procedures Act. Chairman Powell yesterday, in response to a question I had about LISIC and the GAO's assessment about that not having been appropriately promulgated, concerns me, because I get that you need to be independent, but you have to be answerable to the laws that other regulatory agencies are answerable to. I'm not going to ask you to respond to this question now because I'm going to finish on time. But the General Counsel in the middle of June last year, in response to the GAO's assessment that the LISIC guidance had really risen to a rule and should have been promulgated in that manner, said that we're assessing whether or not our guidance is accountable to the GAO. That's an absolutely unacceptable answer. And for anybody here, you all know this, Chairman Powell can give a comment in an oversight hearing or make a speech, and it could have a ripple effect rising to a level of a rule. And to sit here and say that, well, guidance isn't really rulemaking, it's not material to the examination process, defies any knowledge I have of how examinations go on and what goes on in those private, those confidential meetings. So I am going to submit for the record roughly the same question I asked Chairman Powell yesterday, and I'd like your response. Thank you all, and congratulations.